Hello, I'm Chris Lukens with Remax Preferred and Preferred Home Sales and Construction. I'm heading out to a new showing at 6010 Hammersley Road here in Madison. It's a brand new listing I just brought to the market. And as I'm heading out to my showing appointment, I was listening to the economic report. And frankly, I'm a little disgusted and a little upset. It seems to be whenever I turn on the radio or TV and you get the stupid mainstream media talking heads continuing to talk and feed us reports as if they know what they're actually talking about, you can tell that we're living in a system of nothing but repeaters. People who will continue to regurgitate the same information that was sent to them from the top down. And where I'm going with this is the misconception that I continue to find across the country, and that is how our government works and how this whole money printing, I call it scandal, other people call it programs, is working. And I'll explain it to you like this. Right now we have a Federal Reserve which is not federal in any way. Our government doesn't own them. They choose to print the money that we as Americans own and have to pay the debt on at their so choosing. See, the way it works is the Federal Reserve will print the U.S. United States dollars, we'll call it, okay? The greenbacks. They'll print this currency. They'll loan it to the U.S. Treasury Department with an interest. The U.S. Treasury Department will print U.S. Treasury bonds. And in the past, you've always heard of the U.S. Treasury bonds being sold to countries like China, Japan, India, you name it. Other countries have always invested in the U.S. Treasury bond because of the return and because of the safe nature of the bet. Currently, the largest buyer of U.S. Treasury bonds is the Federal Reserve. So let me explain this to you. We have a federal government, or Federal Reserve, that will print our American money, loan it back to us as Americans. Our government, the U.S. Treasury, will print U.S. Treasury bonds and give those Treasury bonds over to the Federal Reserve as a form of an IOU with an intention to pay you later. Okay? So right now, the Federal Reserve has surpassed China as being the largest Treasury bond holder of just over $2 trillion. For mortgage-backed securities, our federal government now is the largest holder of mortgage-backed securities, with just topping $1.2 trillion. Prior to 2008, the Federal Reserve was not the largest bond holder and was not the largest subprime market holder of any of these bonds, okay? It was all in the private sector. So what we've simply done from 2008 up until now is taken the private debt and we've made it public. Public meaning you and I as taxpayers. So every month when our Federal Reserve cartel, I'm going to call them, prints $85 billion, they're simply robbing from you, the savers and people that have equity in their homes. And yes, we have these amazing low interest rates, but if you notice, over the last few months, the low interest rates are starting to rise, despite the economy is not changing. We're still having more Americans leaving the job force than gaining the job force. And yes, I know that can be something that we can debate, but that's for another conversation. The economy is not strong enough and has not shown any direction of improvement for these interest rates to be rising at the pace that they are. So the only thing that it leads me to believe is the cost of Ben Bernanke printing $85 billion every single month is getting more expensive. And so people like you and I as the consumers, we're going to be paying more at the gas pumps. We're going to be paying more for our food. And if you say, no, I'm paying the same amount. Okay, you might be paying the same amount, but you're getting less for what you're paying for. Or you're buying a secondary product that's not as good as the first product to replace the first product because you can get it at a cheaper price. That's a hidden inflation, and that's what I see happening. So when I'm working with my clients and they're saying, well, what should I do? Should I sell? Should I buy? Here's my personal opinion. We are living in a fake bubble. A bubble that at any point in time this thing could burst. And when it bursts, all bets are off of what's going to happen. But I can tell you this, it's cheaper for you now to be owning a house than it's going to be down the road in the next few years. Logic just points that direction. When you're printing this much money and creating this much debt, there has to be a repercussion. And that repercussion is going to be higher interest rates is one of the repercussions, and a lot of other things along the path. But focus on right now. And right now you can get an interest rate of about 4.5 to 4.75 for 30-year fixed rate. That's outstanding. You can still get a great deal on the homes that are available because it is still a buyer's market. However, we are seeing a shortage of homes available for the buyers, so that is also driving some of the prices up for the sellers. That's another great reason for a seller to take advantage of this magical market now while you can, and still lock in at a low interest rate. So when you're out and about and you hear all this economic news, what you need to do is research it for yourself and truly look at the numbers and ask yourself, what are we getting in return for $85 billion? Are we simply creating real assets, tangible assets? Or is this just money being blown out into thin air? And when I look at Wall Street and people are touting that it's at an all-time high, so is the margin calls behind it. The debt behind Wall Street's at an all-time high. Okay, so when I see stuff like this taking place, it's not adding up. The only thing I can say to you is be smart, look up the information yourself, and find a good real estate agent like myself, Chris Lukens of Preferred Home Sales and Construction with RE/MAX Preferred. I'd be happy to sit down and talk to you more about what I know and what I think is about to happen and how I can help you avoid some of the downfalls that are going to be coming our direction. So when you're ready to think about getting out in the real estate market, give me a call, 608-575-5185. Again, it's Chris Lukens with RE/MAX Preferred and Preferred Home Sales and Construction. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.